Hello, welcome to a recap of my match with Tracer. I will go through the games I played with him in twice the speed. And yeah, unfortunately, the last recording I did was without sound. So I will try to recap our game here. And the first one was a game with Goat and Page, notably. Let's quickly pause here to say what I wanted to do there. So my plan was to open Margrave, start shot to top deck the Margrave and play it for a bunch of turns. In the end, being second player here was quite bad, and also the 3-4 that Tracer got was a lot better because he could open Page Mission into start chart. But we will see how he does that. Here I top deck the Margrave, and Tracer's mission here is pretty good because he can play the Goat yet another time and already gets the Treasure Hunter. So I have, the thing that makes the Margrave not all that worth it is that you kind of want to top deck the Traveler to not draw it dead. So the early Margrave has not as much value as you think it would, and that's why the earlier champion just wins out, I guess. Tracer even gets to keep his hero here for a second gold. And I just get my warrior, can also upgrade to hero, can't treasure state unfortunately, and can't do anything else. Second gold for Tracer and his first Margrave, and then he gets the champion going before I can hurt him anymore. So here I have 6 and no buys, and just decide to go with the mission to go to my champion faster. Top deck estate, and I'm fortunate enough to not draw the champion that can't buy anything. So here he goes with the champion, and now he makes the smart play of increasing his payload with a double trap. Oh no, he does that next turn. I don't know if... Yeah, I'm thinking about Pixie here, but go with the second Margrave ultimately. And yeah, now he goes for the double treasure map, which is a really nice way to get your golds into your deck, and you can even draw them the same turn if you get not completely unlucky, and I can't even do that. Also notably, Tracer still has his coffer from the start of the game, so even though 3-4 is kind of better because you can keep the copper, you could have done the same with the 4-3 and spended the coffer first turn. Then it all depends where your goat lays, where your goat's in the shuffle, so you can play it as often as possible. I get a Devil's Workshop there for, I guess, some free imps, but it seems pretty lost. Now Tracer goes with the super safe play, like how does he still lose this one? He loses it by dudding, and he avoids that by getting all the Margraves, which also limits plus buy from me and limits my draw options. I mean, Aldrich is the same kind of draw, it doesn't really matter that much. It's mostly also draw with plus buy, which is insane. And then I just kind of desperation green. Here he can. Tracer could pretty safely triple, but double is about as safe. He goes for the double province, and then he's just about minimizing risk, I guess. And the 2 bakers and pixie definitely are quite nice. Could see old witch over baker, but yeah, it doesn't matter too much. And I play for a total dot, which doesn't happen with star charge. And that was game 1. In game 2, we had another game with goat. And we have a big King's Court engine with no village, so your village is either from black market or King's Courting cantrips, pixie, or other grand market stuff, or King's Court, of course. To me, it's pretty clear here to open with remake. It's just the goat on its own is not fast enough usually, especially with stuff like King's Court that really wants to collide. Here I get the second goat, anticipating that my remake will hit 2 estates, though, so I can get black market from there. And this is the game-winning boon with the chapel-esque turn here, getting the 4 trashes in. Here I trash this boon to guarantee King's Court next turn. And yeah, this was debatable. The ducat, I basically wanted to trash a copper and replace it for a card with plus buy, since plus buy is not really natural on this board, and get another pixie. So here you could, I thought quite a while about Shantytown because you are really village starved, but no way you want it over King's Court. I could have trashed a copper instead of the remake, because remake potentially gets pretty good with King's Court later. To King's Court, to remake the King's Court into provinces. At this point I don't know what I will still happen to pick up from the black market, so remake could be a potential good endgame play. Of course the game isn't going to go all that long. Here you could think about Sculptor as a gainer, or Villager. Villagers could also be pretty nice in this game. I kind of like more pixies at this point, I guess, and wanted to stonemason them. Also stonemason King's Court can get some nice endgame play. And the bridge is pretty automatic. It's an insane card with King's Court. And then I skip over stuff that I don't want anyway and can buy another pixie. Tracer gets the last pixie and a silver and places Tactician. Oh yeah, he got his Tactician there. Tactician, of course, nice with black market, but he's so behind there that kind of doesn't save him. Thinking about taking the plus buy or not, I end up taking it. Since, you know, you could get some cool stuff in black markets. Masquerade, of course, nice, but I don't think it matters that much, and the dungeon is really good for the start of turn consistency, which is really important in King's Court games. Your starting hand can decide if you get a turn or not, and the turns are so much better than the no turns. Tracer has 16 and can get double King's Court, but decides to get the treasury. I guess he wanted more cantrips in the deck to have some village effect. He also kind of was just playing for an insane black market pickup or something. Here I discard some stuff that I want to draw back up with Wisp. And can pick up a free Ironworks, which is really good when you can go to bridge before it. So it basically can gain whatever you want, and I'm lucky to draw it, gain another King's Court, and buy more King's Courts, and a patrol. I didn't even think long about Patrol over Catacombs. Mostly it doesn't matter, because if you king it, you draw your deck anyway. Yeah, it really didn't matter too much. So I king the bridge, king the ironworks to get more kings, and then I start to think about piling. So I get another black market there, because that's the third pile I'm looking at. And Messenger, of course, just seals the deal. It's still the first buy of my game, and I can get out 2 more King's Court of the piles. And at this point I'm just looking at extra gains, so I take the remodel, but I already have enough buys if I draw the Messenger, so it just didn't matter. And at this point I already have it in hand, and I'm just too, I don't know, too dumb to see it, and Tracer gets annoyed and resigns. That was the 1-2-1. Man, the minion is pretty action heavy when you look at its speed. So next board we have a Magpie game with Crossroads as the only village and Wharf as another supplemental draw. Catapult as a pretty annoying attack. So we both go for Magpie. And I really did hope to not get attacked here, and I think I was lucky enough to, yeah. Tracer gets a second catapult, and I decide to go with a workshop, which I hoped to give me golds and imps. For 2, I pick up the Crossroads, and Tracer got the second treasure. I got mine there too, and was lucky enough to not be attacked. And can top deck a gold here with the Traveling Fair workshop couple. Whether that's important, we will see. And first 5, the question if it should have been Junk Dealer or Wharf, but I think the Wharf is okay. Just continuing to attack there. Tracer gets too many free magpies for me, for my taste. Well, I get the rest. I don't even know if it's an even split now or not. So I played 3 and got 2, so should have been even now. Tracer really goes for the Fool's Golds, and I was thinking that that wouldn't work out too well if you get junked with Marauder and attack constantly. But it turned out Magpie Fool's Gold is pretty good if your Magpie hits every time. Can get a nice imp there with the workshop. Top deck a imp as well. That was pretty nice. So here that was maybe that was a pretty tough decision to make without knowing the trend from Tracer. Maybe the catapult would have been better. That's like the thing in hindsight. Turns out the runes didn't hurt him too much. And I'm about to get an ugly attack in. Second Crossroads for him, and he already has 3 Wharfs, I think, which is not that great. And I only hit 3. pick up a silver. Maybe that should have been fool's gold. I was thinking the silver is good catapult food later. But I kind of never got to draw again. And Tracer's Magpies did some work. Gets his junk dealer there. And decides he wants to top deck that. Of course. And I kind of am not finding the crossroads. But that could be just because I only have one. And that's why I'm also still top decking them. I got the province since the piles are somewhat low. And I wanted a points lead. And also I was kind of hoping the Tracer wouldn't draw as good. But despite all the fool's golds and some ruins, he manages to basically draw a deck, get his 2 dwarfs in play, which is really nice. Yeah, the second junk dealer doesn't make too much sense, but I guess he was too afraid of ruins clogging him up too much. I think he even gets a third at some point. So, playing the junk dealer there, thinking about what to trash. Go with the crossroads since didn't make, yeah, I don't know. I still wanted more imps, I guess. That was the first semi-bad turn from Tracer in a long time. And you promptly get a third junk dealer. The third really didn't make much sense, but what else would have made sense? Now the workshop can go, and I don't know how much attacking there with catapult would have mattered. Maybe his hand was good and he would have discarded magpies or something. But it would definitely also have hurt my turn. And here comes the insane turn where all the magpies finds his fool's golds and he just buys the last 3 provinces. Imp into Ruined Village. Turned out Ruined Village didn't hurt too much. So 2-2-1 for Tracer. And here we have another board with fool's gold, but it turns out not to be that great because we like a plus buy. We both open research gear. I'm sad enough to not collide them with an estate, the research. And I'm getting the second gear here. No clue why I even, why I set aside estate over copper, then that made no sense. So it turns out I just buy the third gear. Could have been a mountain village, that would probably have been better. So for 5, I buy a mountain village. Okay. So here we have an important turn. Tracer just windfalled. That was pretty early, turn 6. And here I'm at turn 7. I'm guaranteed to also drawing my deck here. But I also need to hit 5. That's not what I was thinking about. And in my deck there are 3 coppers and 1 estate. And I proceed to play the research first and thinking I want to set card aside for the next turn. And also want to trash. But if my first 2 cards are exactly 2 coppers, then I don't hit 5. So what I should have done is play gear first and see if my next cards, if I'm still not hitting 5. And if I would have hit 5, then I can still play the research. And if I don't hit 5, I have to play the second gear, and play research next turn. So that way it turned out I didn't think long enough about it, and in the end got punished. Not hitting 5 and wasting basically a turn. My hand, my cursor went over the young witch, which might have turned out in the long run, looking at how the game went. Might have turned out fine. Those curses would definitely have hurt. So Tracer goes with a patrol, which I think is a little overkill. But maybe he couldn't have provinced there. And he has 2 researches and the patrol, and I wonder, he did hit 8 here, right? And he did buy province, okay. So I am basically forced to also province there, and Tracer just missed province, which is pretty fortunate for me. And was also pretty unlikely for him. And I'm seeing that this is a single gain board, and I have this estate that I didn't trash. And there I decide that I will never trash that, because this is the thing that keeps me in the game. Otherwise Tracer can just buy out provinces without ever risking me winning. But as it goes, I can, with that estate, go into duchy dancing, which I here have to do. And that way Tracer can never safely province here, unless I miss duchy. And Tracer wasn't in the mood of risking it that early. Rightfully so at this point. Decks are still kind of good. And I still trash some coppers, since I'm not quite thin yet. Scouting party was also pretty nice to set up the next turns. Also, I have the 2 mountain villages going for me. They definitely did some nice job there, making sure I have gear in every hand or picking up golds. So we go into this duchy dancing phase. And I just need this last duchy, and then duchies are already gone, so next part to dance around would be estates. And this is where, basically, if Tracer gets here 1 estate, I could offer a tie if I get a province, and I probably would have done that because my deck at this point is quite worse than his. But I didn't even have the opportunity to offer the tie. And here I just realized that I don't have to hit 5 anymore. I can just hit 2. I can gear the gold. There Tracer was in an awkward spot, and I don't know, I guess he was forced to research the gold to avoid a complete dud next turn. But maybe he could have also just done it with scouting parties. And I kind of didn't like trashing the gold. It's one of his 3 golds. It's really hard to hit Province still with only 2 golds in the deck at this point. So I'm starting to feel a lot better, and Tracer really was like hoping that I would offer a tie there, but I couldn't. And here he's thinking about taking the province or not. And he took the province there. The thing is that since he trashed his 3 golds, his 3rd gold, he couldn't set a gold into his gear, which was kind of nice. And I have to estate here. Would have loved to pick the gold, but then I risk losing if I can't estate. And I'm just basically hoping to draw the 2 golds, and wow, that was super lucky that I drew the 2 golds exactly on the top of the deck with the gear. And I'm able to steal this win, kind of. So next game we have a werewolf farming village, conclave engine with treasure for trashing and remodel for trashing, and fortune teller for the attack. And I go with the fortune teller, thinking as second player might as well take the risk and maybe I get lucky. And this fortune teller already made it kind of worth it. I skipped the treasurer, skipped the remodel and silver, and was basically confused if he was sombreroing, since I saw all the good cards there. But of course, as being second player, that just happened to be the next shuffle. So I got an unlucky remodel there and a kind of unlucky treasurer, but it also means I can take the key and not feel bad about it. And yeah, that jester was kind of like, there was not really a reason for the jester. I guess I just like the card. And maybe it gets lucky. Here I trash the remodel since we have so many farming villages in that deck that it does nothing, and can use it as an extra gain there. Jester just hits copper, which is okay. But I would have preferred to gain something good. Tracer really gets quite thin, but never takes the key from me, which is nice, but also understandable since we don't have really a good plus buy, and the +1 coin doesn't matter too much. And here I'm just deciding to take the turn as it is and attack twice. And also I'm already provincing since it's a single buy board, and provinces are important in this kind of game. Because of course we have remodel, and you can do something with remodel gold and treasurer. And maybe Tracer should have gone for that. Maybe that should have been gold over province for him, since he is kind of in the spot to do that stuff. But you also need a lot of villages for that. And villages are at a premium at this point. He only has four of them. Or maybe 5. No, he has 5, okay. Gets the last werewolf. And here his Hex trashes my only remodel, which made me feel really bad, since that's a lot of endgame pressure that I lose there. So I'm basically forced to hope for bad draws of him now, because I can't afford to rebuy this remodel. That would just lose. So I just buy the province and hex him 3 times, and greed locals basically cancels each other out, and poverty didn't do too much. So the thing I have going for me is that he can't mill both his provinces here into another province and buy one, since that's not enough points. So he trashes Curse into a state. And I can buy another province, but that basically leaves him in a position where he just needs to province duchy to win, but completely duds, since he didn't find villages. And I also can't province. And I skipped one of his farming villages, which was pretty nice, and here my famine from the hex skips 2 other villages and a remodel, which was game winning, I guess. Of course I could also have, I mean, yeah, that was game deciding, but other important factors are also that he trashed my remodel, and if I still would have had that, I maybe would have won earlier anyways. You can always curse your luck or look where you got lucky. And there we go on to the last game, which is a weird tragic hero only buy thing where you really want to keep your tragic heroes, but that's also really hard to do. Chariot Race Citygate combo is something that happens to be here and happens to be quite effective. So I hit 5 and buy a Lost City, since that's like safe draw. Maybe that could have been Tragic Hero already. And yeah, Chariot Race Citygate combo already comes into play. Tracer gets a Wisp. Gets the City Gate. So I decide to not play the Tragic Hero since I don't want to lose it for nothing. I wouldn't have been able to use the buy, I guess, anyway. Well, made sense, I think. And here I decide to pop it since I would miss out on a pretty good turn. And didn't play the bishop. I don't know. The bishop is mostly there to keep tragic heroes alive, so you can get rid of 2 cards of your hand first and then play another. didn't work out quite that clean as I imagined it would, since that also costs a lot of actions. So 8. Not yet the province time. Also we have groundskeeper, which makes provinces kind of unappealing that early. I got the third lost city already, which turns out important. I get the plus buy boon and decide to keep the hero, get a mining village and chariot race. I trash copper over estate, since copper is terrible to top deck with chariot race. Oh no, I just trashed the estate. I was thinking about copper over estate. It also doesn't matter too much. And I get another lost city, which puts me at 4 lost cities to his 2. And the thing is that tragic heroes will die sooner or later, and then you only draws your lost cities. So having 4 there against just 2 is kind of important, and those are the last lost cities that are gained this game, since piles will be a consideration soon. I can't complain about my chariot race hits that game. They were kind of nice. And I just get groundskeeper there and chariot race. The groundskeeper may be debatable, but at this point the points are somewhat close, the piles are pretty low. I'm unfortunate that I can't trash anything here to his bishop. He decides he wants to trash 2 estates rather than 2 coppers. Probably because he wants to buy stuff and should buy out the tragic heroes. But maybe can't, because then I am threatening to get the lost cities out, so he gets the groundskeepers. I'm not quite sure if I have 4 buys at this point in my deck. If I do, then yeah, 2 tragic heroes would have been too risky, and I do have 4 buys, so yeah, it turns out that was the right play. Maybe he should have gotten 1 of those though, since yeah, they are really good. I'm looking through my deck. To see how many tragic heroes I have, and I thought I still had 1 more, but that wasn't true. But I get the last 2 tragic heroes, knowing he only has 2, so it's capped at 3 buys. And a province thinking that would allow me to pile next turn and force him to score. And it also does. Still trashing copper, since they don't do much for you, and they are terrible to top deck to chariot race. So he goes for leprechaun, which is another gain if you can activate it, but it's also quite hard to reliably activate it here. It's also the obelisk pile, which is nice. And here I get some nice chariot races, basically activate 4 of them, and I'm kind of like, if I had one more point here, I could pile, but I don't have that. Trash the last tragic hero for a buy, and I think I could have played that maybe. 6, 7, 8, you have to have, yeah, I could have played that for another buy. So I miss out on a free Pearl Diver. But since this is a chariot race game, that might be not too bad. And Tracer gets a complete dud. Where this comes back to Lost Cities, I guess. He only has 2 of them. And I also kind of dud, so we just evened out on that front. Just get another province since, yeah, VPs are important with those pesky piles. And provinces are nice with chariot race. I don't know if I still trash that. I do, okay. Which is fair. Keeps my tragic hero alive. Oh, he gets the poverty, which didn't hurt him if I remember correctly. And he gets the Pearl Diver. I mean, Pearl Divers can also be kind of nice to set up your own chariot races. It's a double-edged sword. He reveals Will-O-Wisp, and I'm not lucky enough to capitalize fully on that. I mean, I will still capitalize on it, but I also reveal my only 2 coppers there. I think, yeah, I trashed one of the mining villages. I mean, I just got it for kind of free with the Bard. I'm aiming at a big turn here. I mean, trashing the mining villages in the end was just an estate, which was worth 3 points. So maybe not worth it to trash there. This time I don't trash. And Trace is forced to take the duchy, which is really not a spot he wants to be in. And here I miscount, thinking I don't hit 8 with trashing the mining villages. I think I didn't account for the chariot race that I won. And Tracer's nice enough to let me undo that. And here I have the win kind of enhanced, since I'm not seeing him scoring 32 points. I mean, his turn is kind of good. He gets the wish activation, but that's worth nothing if you never draw the wish. And I just make it out here with a 42 win, which is a nice start into the season. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this speed up mode with commentary, and excuse me again to everyone who wanted to watch the live thing and the audio just wasn't there. So see you in the next game.